When Natasha Ryan from Rockhampton, Australia, vanished without a trace, her family feared the worst. And soon authorities charged a suspect in her disappearance and put him on trial. The cops had even managed to extract a confession from the accused. But then something extraordinary happened. The last person anyone expected to see at the trial showed up for testimony. Hello, wonderful people. I'm Scott Leffler for WonderBot, and here is Murder Trial Interrupted when Accused Killer's Alleged Victim Shows Up to Testify on His Behalf. Before we begin, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, and click the notification bell for more amazing videos. September 1998 was the very last time that anyone had seen schoolgirl Natasha Ryan from Rockhampton in central Queensland, Australia. And news of what she'd been doing before she vanished made her family fear for the worst. Witnesses claimed that the young 14-year-old teen had been talking to a man in an alleyway near the local cinema. Then she seemingly disappeared from the face of the earth. And she wasn't the only one. As it turns out, 4 other women had gone missing too. Julie Turner, 39, Beverly Lego, 37, Sylvia Benedetti, 19, and Kara Steinert, age 9, had vanished from the small town in Queensland. Unlike Ryan, their bodies were eventually found. Rockhampton residents were terrified. They wouldn't go to the movie theater, and they refused to drive at night. Eventually, everyone in town stopped going out. But cops had one prime suspect in mind. Authorities believed that Leonard Fraser was involved in the disappearances, but they didn't have a lot of solid evidence to convict him of the crimes. And to charge him, they would need a confession. Fraser was believed to be a serial killer, and he was already behind bars serving time for the death of a 9-year-old girl back in April 1999. But cops believed he was responsible for what happened to all 5 women, including Ryan. Fraser would never get paroled for his crimes, and he was already serving a life sentence. But what they wanted was solid evidence to pin the disappearance of Natasha Ryan on him as well. But cops knew that this wouldn't be easy. In November 2000, authorities got their lucky break when he bragged about what he'd done to a fellow prison inmate. But Fraser had no idea that the cops were listening in on everything, and it was all thanks to one man. Cops gave Alan Quinn, Australia's greatest con man, the chance to do something right for a change, and he was happy to do it. So he set out to trick Fraser into confessing where he'd hidden Natasha Ryan and the other women's bodies. Fraser used a meat cutter, and everyone knew him as the man with the icy stare. He wasn't the kind of guy you wanted to be alone with, but Quinn was willing to take the risk. Fraser was ultimately convicted of his crime against 9-year-old Kara, but he hadn't confessed to harming Natasha Ryan or the other 3 women who had initially gone missing. And this was something that Quinn was determined to get him to do. Cops hooked Quinn up to a recording device, which they monitored whenever he spoke with Fraser. And for the next 2 years, Quinn persisted until Fraser opened up to him about the horrific details of his crime. The information Quinn got from Fraser allowed Detective Dave Hickey to find the remains of the victims. In fact, Fraser eventually got flown in the governor's personal jet and led the cops through the jungle on the outskirts of Rockhampton, where the women, or what was left of them, awaited. The remains of Julie Turney, Beverly Lego, and Sylvia Benedetti were found. But even though Fraser gave authorities detailed maps of where Natasha Ryan was, police couldn't find her. Fortunately, Quinn's testimony helped Fraser answer for his crime. Halfway through Fraser's trial, the victim he was accused of harming had seemingly risen from the grave when she made a surprise appearance halfway through the trial. This left the court, attorneys, and most importantly, Ryan's grieving family in a state of total shock. It turns out that Ryan was hiding in a wardrobe at the home of her boyfriend, Scott Black, who's 26 years old. His house wasn't too far from where Ryan's mom lived either, and Ryan had apparently been staying there for years. Ryan's sudden disappearance had thrown a wrench in the prosecutor's case against Leonard Fraser. They had no choice but to drop the charges against him, but the charges for his other crimes remained unaffected. Natasha Ryan's family was so convinced that she was no longer alive that they held a memorial service for her. But a tip-off led cops to Black's home, where they found Ryan. To confirm her identity, they had her father, Robert, ask her over the phone what her pet's name was, and she gave them the right answer. Jenny, who's Natasha Ryan's mom, was shocked when Ross Lomonico, the family's lawyer, told her that her daughter was alive. She initially thought it was a false alarm, but when she saw her again, she instantly knew. Her daughter was back, and the reunion was as emotional as you can imagine. To avoid a massive police search, Ryan had to live like a recluse inside her milkman boyfriend's home. She also seemingly ignored the numerous appeals her parents had made on the news for her safe return. But Ryan had always been troubled. Ryan wasn't an easy child. She'd allegedly used controlled substances and she ran away more than once. She'd even told a school counselor that she was pregnant right before she disappeared. But why did she decide to take off this time? Scott Black may not have kidnapped Natasha Ryan, but he lied to authorities, which led to Fraser being falsely accused. So Black pled to perjury and was sentenced to a year behind bars. But prison didn't sever his connection to Ryan. According to rumors, Natasha Ryan eventually married Scott Black during a small ceremony. From there, they went to Brisbane Airport and took a plane to Melbourne. But did her family attend the wedding? Ryan's mother, Jenny Kirwan, and her father, Robert, had also attended the wedding of approximately 35 guests. Everyone seemed eager to leave the past behind in order to celebrate a brighter future. But there was one special kin Ryan was glad was there. Ryan and Black had a son named Corey in 2004, and Corey was there to watch his parents exchange vows. Ryan also allegedly made $200,000 by selling the wedding photos to Women's Day, but she supposedly hasn't repaid the $160,000 that it cost investigators when they went looking for her.